We talked about in an earlier video the importance of naming your queries in such a way that people could easily understand what data was in each query. We talked about using names that were descriptive, that were agreed upon business terms, and not confusing abbreviations or acronyms. So those same rules apply to actually columns and how you name your columns. We again don't want to use unfriendly terms or terms that people aren't familiar with. We want to describe our columns in a way that really people understand what it is that they're looking at. So I'd like to go to a query called Sales 2019 to 2020, and I want to rename some of the columns in here. For example, this country region column could just be called country. Now you can right click and you can actually choose the option rename and rename a column that way, or some people will double click. That's an option as well. But I just really want to call it country. So I'm going to take off the region off the end. And that becomes a step in my applied step, which is to rename that column. If I hit the delete option here, I can get the column name back. And if I decided to use the F2 key instead, F2 also allows me to rename a column heading. I'd also like to go to the customers query and just address any columns in here that need renaming. So customer ID, I'm going to press F2. I need to click it first and then press F2. And I just want to call that simply ID. Customers are given. And when it comes to company name, I'm going to click company name, press F2, and just simply call that company. When it comes to contact name, I'm actually just going to call that contact. And title, contact title, will just become title. So really easy to rename your columns. And the fact that I've renamed 4 of those columns falls into one step called rename columns. Now I'd like to close and apply, and it will eventually apply those changes to my Power BI field list. Let it load, let it connect, and I'm going to save those changes. Okay, so we know the best practice now with regards to naming queries, and we know best practice with regards to naming columns. Let's now look at data types. We touched on this earlier, but we need to give it a little bit more airtime. I'm going to go back to transform data, which takes me back to my Power Query. I'm going to start with the query called fact orders, and here it is here. Now I'm looking at, for example, this column called order date. This is also asking if I'd like to refresh. So I'm going to go yes, refresh, so that I'm dealing with and looking at the most current data. The order date, the required date, and the ship date are dates, but it's also put midnight, a time in each of those columns. And the time is actually irrelevant. So I want to change the data type. Now this can be done on the transform tab. You actually have a data type option here, and I'm seeing that detect data type is an option here, so I can detect data type and it will go through and change where it can. Or I can choose a column like this column and I can change the data type in here. Or I could hit which is a lot simpler, I could hit the little button just in front of the column name. So order date actually shouldn't be a date/time, which is that symbol there. It should just be a date. So I'm going to change the date of that, change the data type of that column to a date. And do the same for required date, that's a date, and ship date, that's a date as well. So as discussed in an earlier video, when you load data or connect to data, and this is indicative down the bottom here, column profiling is based on the top 1,000 rows. I could actually change that and tell it to profile based on the entire data set. But basically, it looks at the first 1,000 rows or looks at the entire data set, whichever option you choose, and determines the data type based on those rows. It doesn't always get it right, so that's where you can come in and actually click the button in front of the column name and actually be more clear or precise as to what the data type is. So that's 3 data types have changed in that query. I need to go to another query, which is the dim employees. And again, I have the same situation where there's a birth date and a hire date. Let me just refresh. That includes a time. I'm going to change the data type to just a date, change the data type to just a date. And I'm happy that it's just profiling the top 1000 rows because it's not a very big data set. Now, if I then go to order details, there is a higher, order details, there is a discount column, this column here. This is showing as a decimal data type, but if I click the drop down, I might say, actually, that discount should be a percentage. So I'll choose percentage, and that's rectified that particular situation there. Now, the order details is quite a large data set, so I might actually ask the profiling to be based on the entire data set rather than just the first 1000 rows. So it does its best. It's usually pretty good, but because some of these files, like Excel files and text files, there really aren't a lot of controls over how people enter data. The first 1000 rows might be perfect in terms of what the data type has been established, but further down they may have actually changed the data, and so the data type's not actually accurate. So go through, check your data types as a step of best practice, and make sure that your data types are correctly established. Now, the other thing I want to look at besides data types is moving columns. When you want to move a column, say I want to put, for example, quantity in front of unit price, you simply can just drag. And wherever that solid line goes is where it's going to put the quantity. And I can drag it back and put it on the other side of unit price. So simply drag, or on the transform tab in the ribbon, you do have a move button. And I could move this column to the beginning of this query, or I could move it to the end of the query, or I could just move it to the left one sort of step at a time. I find I just drag it and drop it. So you can easily move columns as well. Sorting and filtering is a thing. You can see that every column, for example, has a drop down. And if I hit the drop down, just like other programs you may be familiar with, like Excel, you can filter out certain products or certain quantities. I might apply a number filter, and I might say between. And I might say, look, I'm only interested in those products or orders that have a quantity that is greater than or equal to, say, 10, and less than or equal to, say, 20. And if I go OK, I've actually filtered that list. And it tells me here that 817 rows exist in my filter. It also, if I rest on this little funnel here, typically tells you, but it's not going to. Okay, if I click the filter, a funnel, that tells me where the filter is emanating from, and I have the option to clear the filter, and so I can clear it and return back to my 999 plus rows. So there's a lot of rows in this actual data set. Easy to be able to filter, easy to be able to sort, and no doubt you're familiar with filtering and sorting from other applications. Okay.